Welcome to this episode of Security Market Watch, the show that goes straight to the source for cybersecurity industry insights. Today, Maggie and I are here with Tina Williams-Koroma, and Tina is the CEO of CyDeploy and TCecure. Now, Tina, you've described CyDeploy and TCecure as sort of different ecosystems. They're structured a little bit differently. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and tell us about CyDeploy, TCecure, and I think there's a third.
Yeah.
There's a third organ. Man, you're such an inspiration. I haven't known you for too long. I just met you, but I'm already just like so impressed with what you've done so far. You also have extracurricular activities on top of the companies that you're running. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, thanks so much, Josh and Maggie. Thanks so much for having me. I consider myself an entrepreneur at heart. Certainly, my first venture was probably when I was 7. That was non-tech. There were golfers on the base that my dad worked at that hit golf balls into like a little creek, and they never wanted to come get the golf balls. So I was like, oh, we'll go fetch them and sell them back with lemonade. So that was my first entrepreneurial venture. But, fast forward by several years, and TCecure is a cybersecurity services company that I launched, and really focuses on helping organizations to build and maintain effective cyber programs. So that includes understanding what their current risk posture is, and then working with them to improve that risk posture so that it's more appropriate for the type of data and systems that they're maintaining. Out of TCecure, I, based upon some of the needs that I have seen over my career, and also with some of our TCecure customers, I pivoted out to product companies. One, CyDeploy, which is a venture capital angel-backed organization, and then also an on-demand training platform, CySkills. And so with each of those, there's different, leadership in place. My full-time focus is with CyDeploy. We have a president running, is operations officer, chief operations officer with CySkills. But in all three of those cases, certainly the focus is cyber. I got into the field just watching the movie The Net with Sandra Bullock. Not sure if listeners remember that, but love that movie. And that was my inspiration. So those are the three ventures. And, we can dig into in whatever direction you all would like to proceed next.
So many questions. I have so many. I just want to pick your brain about the venture capital side of it and how you got started. But I know that Maggie has more questions, and she's a lot more organized than I am with the questions. So I'll just pop in and out, just meander and
Okay.
Maggie, have at it.
Well, I want to thank you for that description. You were so professional in that, but I want to make sure everyone knows, first and foremost, first female guest on Security Market Watch. Yes, ma'am. We are so glad you're here. It's great to have you at my side. Also, Tina is a licensed Maryland attorney, mother, and does about 18 other things that we haven't even talked about. So this woman is super phenomenal, and that's part of the reason you're so excited you're here. So one of the biggest things, truly, and
real
one
quick,
of the things I want to dig into. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just curious. So I didn't know that you lived in Maryland. What part of Maryland do you live?
Yeah. So most people are probably familiar with like Fort Meade, Odenton. So we live near there.
Okay. I lived in PG County for like 3 years, Baltimore County for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. Before living in Anne Arundel County, which is where we are now, we were in Prince George's County in Laurel, and loved my place in Laurel. I was there for, I don't know, maybe like 17 years, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
really nice
yeah.
area.
And our
Property
businesses
values.
are based in Baltimore, so downtown Baltimore and Fells Point. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to go check it out. But okay, Maggie.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue.
It's okay. I feel like Maryland knows who she is by now at this point with everything.
Yeah.
So we network, Tina. That's why we're trying to ask so we can make, just for instance, I work at Lockheed Martin. I grew up at Lockheed.
Oh, yeah.
So did you. So, there's So
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. We're talking about Lockheed. Let's start out with government contracting and cybersecurity. You started out as a software developer. Then you actually helped them transition and transform with Unisys. Am I right? Correct in
Yep.
saying that?
Unisys.
Tell,
Yep. Went there next.
tell,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how you started there here in a shorter version, because I know there's a lot.
Yeah. So, with Lockheed Martin, I was actually a part of a leadership development program that they had there. So it was a rotational program, which I'm really glad I got to participate in because I started as a software developer and realized I just didn't want to have a career doing that. We'd go to peer reviews and, I remember one time in particular, like, some of the feedback I got was like, okay, Tina, this could be done more efficiently if you did it like this. And in my head, I was thinking, does it work? And when your baseline is only does it work, that tells you that you don't have the curiosity to innovate, to make it better, and I wanted that for something I'd pursue as a career. So I rotated into cybersecurity, and did, network security, computer forensics, and I was in love. I transitioned from Unisys, or from Lockheed to Unisys. And again, I got the chance to do a lot of like availability sort of testing at Unisys. And I told my manager at Unisys, I was like, I really want to shape my career around cybersecurity. I want to be the go-to cyber person in our practice. And he was so supportive of that. Absolutely, just for so many reasons, loved him as a manager. While I was there, he was just so instrumental in my career. And so I went down that track. I continued in learning and being able to get matrixed into different projects that allowed me to develop my security skills. I built a security engineering team within the practice. So when the VA laptop deal came out, when that compromised non-encrypted lap disk to create and stand up and deploy an enterprise an encryption solution throughout our practice. So from there, I went to one of my colleagues at Unisys had started his own business. He came back, recruited me, and I led their civilian division. So I was vice president of their civilian division, porting over what they were doing in the defense and intelligence sectors into the civilian sector. And then that company became my first TCecure customer. So we changed from W-2 employee to B2B. So that's kind of the inception and progress from Lockheed through to starting TCecure.
The reason I had you explain that, I'm sure you're aware of this. We have 18% of women in the cybersecurity industry right now. So it's good to hear you really break that down. What worked for you, what didn't work for you,
Yeah.
and how you roadmapped it to being, this guru that you are today. So thank you for doing that. I wanted people to hear
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
As far as some of the things that you're really wanting to develop with STEM, with some of the education for future generations, if you were to give advice to younger generations, obviously you're very involved with communities, and I know we'll kind of go a little bit more in depth on the technical side here, but what would be some advice to any, and this isn't just for women or girls, anyone that's younger that wants to get into cybersecurity, what would your advice be?
Yeah, I think, one of the sites that I really love, and this is something, on SciSkills, that I created in becoming a cybersecurity professional, is really understand how broad the field is. I think sometimes people run from it because when they hear cyber, they think super hard, like nerd in a hood, but behind a desk, no social skills or life, etc. But cybersecurity it encompasses so many different things and has such tangible human impacts to people. Like when you think about the fact that a lot of even medical technology is now being connected, network connected, and technology like wireless infusion pumps or pacemakers. If you think about like your elderly relative that you absolutely love and adore and want to make sure that as they're, using some of the latest technology, they're kept safe. you have an opportunity to help contribute to that, if you're in the cyber field and can help design security into some of these products, or do some of the testing to ensure that these products are market secure and ready, right? So that while legitimate people can access those devices, you're making sure that malicious individuals can't access those devices. Or thinking about just in a military context, if you want to keep certain communications safe and encrypted, for your uncle, cousin, brother, aunt, that's serving our country, there's an opportunity to participate and contribute to that in the cyber context. So I think it's just, really taking a step back to understand how pervasive cybersecurity is, and just the human impact and the like that you can have by participating in the field. So it's not just about, ones and zeros and bits and bytes and, in the hoodie behind the desk, but there's really practical ways that to contribute that we really, really need. There's so many open cyber jobs in the US, leaving so many missions and people vulnerable because organizations are struggling to find the talent to fill these positions.
3.5 million deficit right now. That's where we're at.
It's just so much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really difficult, I've found, and I think others in the field have found, to connect cybersecurity with consumers. Right? Think about the person who you're like, you should take cybersecurity more seriously, but they go, well, they can steal my data. I don't have anything to hide. We all have that friend, right? We all know that person.
Yeah. We got a lot of those friends.
Yes. So going kind of to the other side, not getting into the cybersecurity industry, but for those people who are just, oblivious about our entire world, but we know that it affects them. It's their data that we work so hard to protect.
Yeah.
How have you bridged the gap between cybersecurity and consumers? Is there a technique or anything that you've seen to be able to bring those worlds together?
Yeah, I think, again, it's really in focusing on the human element. We have an initiative that we'll be rolling out in the coming months with TCecure that really does kind of do a B2B2C sort of arrangement there. But when you start talking to individuals about protecting their children at home that are connected on these devices, when you start talking about the privacy settings that need to get changed on the TV, so that, these companies aren't watching every show that you're watching, how long you're staying there, what profiles you're setting up, etc. When you start talking to them about how, some of these home smart devices that you can talk to and say, do this and do that. When you start, letting them know that, hey, you have to be mindful of what your location, with your children, making sure that, when your children are asking questions, are you mindful of what answers might be coming back, right, from these devices, telling your children about things that you are not ready to talk to them about? Even with medical information, like with your credit cards and the like, you can call the credit card company, change that credit card number, but with your health data and medical data, you can't just say, oh, look, they stole my medical data. Today I've decided my blood type will change. Now my blood type will be,
Right.
and, on a micro level, we might not think that there's, so much value in and about our information, but, just being the cynic and kind of the I put on the mind of, adversaries and the like. If you can get to know and understand enough about American, human populations, diseases, etc., imagine, with bio warfare kind of stuff that you might be able to start crafting, human exploits, right? Or human viruses and the like that target specific demographics. And, that's not so far-fetched, right? We've had huge breaches of medical data, especially former military medical data, right? Imagine how you might be able to use that kind of data to start crafting, things for those that are, adversarial to the US. And sometimes people just don't really think about how valuable it is to be to them. Where can you go? What can you get into? What kind of credit cards can you get that somebody else can't? What other sorts of loans might be available to you that aren't available to somebody else? Like there is value in being you, right? In having your credit
Right.
score, in having, your name or address. Now I can sign up to go to this place because I have this address. I
Hmm.
live in this zip code, right? And so I think like that's normally the approach that we take, is just making sure that people understand the fact that, there's somebody that could see and know things about you or your children or other vulnerable individuals, elderly, people within your family that you want to protect, that may not be as, wise or perceptive or quick to the take as you. And so that's how we kind of help consumers to understand
Yeah, that's
that.
brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. I hadn't really thought about that approach. I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah, it's like
Really
so
ashamed.
much in like cyber. It's like my brain, like automatically when I look at stuff now, I'm like, how would I get into that? How would I do that?
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
like because
I've never thought that
it's
I
yeah,
have worth in such a
yeah,
way, like
exactly.
I'm not saying I'm struggling with
Right, right.
self-esteem issues, but I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't
Right,
suffer
right, right.
from self-esteem issues, but I've never really thought about what is the value of being being an American,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Being the value of being an
yeah.
American
Start
is,
there.
yeah, because it's not just local people who are trying to get your
Mm-mm,
data.
not at all.
It's people who, they can, and
Yeah.
they don't have a stake in the game, so
Nope.
they can run up your credit card,
Yep.
they can buy houses in your name, they can
Yep.
take over your lien,
Yeah.
and when it all goes to crap, nobody finds them.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
I
Yeah.
heard that South Africa is overtaking Nigeria, so the
Ooh.
Nigerian prince is
Ooh. Is
becoming the
now the
South
South
African prince.
African prince? Oh
Yes,
dear. Oh
yes.
dear. Mm.
So you mean those
Yeah.
emails that I keep getting from the Nigerian prince is no longer effective? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a Nigeria. It's a South African prince posing as the Nigerian prince.
Right, right, right.
Totally no answer.
That's funny. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually got an email the other day, like saying, based upon my last name, Koroma, I had some cousin in Sweden or Switzerland or something that left me an estate, and I needed to follow up so I was like, oh no, 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 no.
Not today.
Not today, not today.
Thank you. You did such a good job just kind of describing that, because there's a lot of times where even I, in my own family, I try to
Yeah.
explain what I do, and
Yeah.
it's hard to connect the dots. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so you
Yeah.
did such a good job. I know that's part of the reason you're so involved with your community
Aw.
and why you add so much value. And so I want to kind of talk to you about that. What would be great volunteer opportunities for any cybersecurity professional or IT? It does,
Yeah.
we're all family. What would
Yeah.
be some good volunteer work that we could do to spread the word?
Yeah, I think there's one with the Girl Scouts, for one. They now have cyber badges. And so, there's different opportunities where they like to have, community members come in and speak, both to the girls and also to the parents. I've done those sorts of sessions, both types of sessions, just so that parents have an awareness of, what's out there, what's available, some of these social media platforms, the fact that a lot of them aren't configured for privacy, to the initially or by default, and just with the kids as well, just understanding, how to make wise or safe decisions online, and introducing them to it as a career, kind of with that broad brush, letting them know the impact that they could have in pursuing that. So that's one organization. Another one is like even with churches or other local community organizations that focus on some of the more vulnerable populations in our communities, like children, like the elderly, right? Like so some of the um, uh, elderly community centers,
Mm.
or some of the community centers for younger individuals. Libraries sometimes have, opportunities for different engagements for like lessons to learn, allowing community members to come in and learn about, certain topics. There's also this organization, gosh, it is gonna slip my mind. I'll have to find it. Basically, it's what they do is they have different classrooms, K through 12, that post their requirements or what they're seeking from having someone come in their classroom, and it's virtual, and so you're able to volunteer and talk to classrooms of students virtually. I've done, various sessions, and you can talk sometimes the sessions are about, can you do cyber 101, or can you talk about the different careers available in cyber, or sometimes students will have, done some sort of assignment, and they want like career professionals to, pair up and kind of review and give feedback on that assignment that's about technology. So those are some of the, volunteering things that are available in almost every organization. I mean, if you have hours and you love just tinkering and helping, a lot of them actual physical machines going in to, do like a kind of an assessment, or make recommendations about how they can be more secure, those sorts of things. Nonprofits normally don't have much of a budget, but do have a lot of sensitive information because of the fact that they're servicing, community members. So they have valuable information and the like. So just, having free or low cost support for those types of organizations is also a great way to be able to give back.
Yeah, it makes me think of my church. So whenever I go to church, people ask, "What do I do?" I said, "I'm in cybersecurity."
Yeah.
And they go, "How do I get my kids to like not?"
Right. Yes.
And
that is exactly it.
and they're so protective of their kids. It's either their kids or their moms.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I never really thought. They asked me once if I wanted to do conferences, like or workshops or something like that, and I've never really considered it seriously. But maybe now I will.
Yeah.
That's
It's very much needed, and it's just a really great opportunity. Whether it's to provide like cyber awareness, or it's to like give visibility and allow someone to like see someone in person, like tangible, that is in that field that they can ask questions of, right? Like, I don't know how you go to church, but maybe if you don't have the hoodie and the sweatshirt and antisocial, then even that context gives them the ability to say, oh, so he's what a cyber professional looks like as well. Okay.
That was me in church in like middle school.
Yeah, that was probably a lot. Like if I thought I could get away with it in middle school, like I protested pantyhose stockings. My mom just always wanted us, like we were in like Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal, like, right, everybody's in like hats and long skirts and the like, and I was just like, this is where I put my foot down. I think my mom just didn't want to fight me, so
you gotta go to a white church.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. You get a little more latitude. Well, what I did as an adult is I went to non-denominational churches, so now I can go to church.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Come as you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. I saw jeans. I damn near passed out. I'm like, oh my God. They were to church. What is going on?
Exactly.
To this day, my dad wouldn't go to a white church because of that. He's like, people don't dress up. My dad's from Guyana. They don't. They don't even dress up. They don't even.
Right.
Like, Dad.
Yeah.
2023.
So we go to a non-denominational church now. My parents were in town visiting one time, and we were like, well, let's go to church. They were like, no, we didn't pack clothes like to go to church. I was like, no, it's it's pretty casual. And they were like, no, we don't feel comfortable going to church without like having church clothes. So right. So they were like, next time we come up, if you want to go to church, like, and have us go with you, let us know so we can pack appropriate church clothes, right?
Yes,
You know, it's like,
dress up.
okay, right. Guess
Oh
we're
man.
watching remotely this Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that to raise awareness one day. I'll just go to church and wear the little hoodie and the laptop and
Right.
sit on the like in the front
Right.
row. You know,
Scare everybody.
yeah, yeah. What's that guy doing? You know
What's he
what? I'm
doing?
gonna do it. They'll let me do
Right,
it too.
right.
Get in the very back and see if you can hack their system while they're trying to
Right, right.
preach. And,
Right.
yeah, cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And then
Yep,
it's
yep.
right. October Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Right, yep.
Yeah. I'll hack the mic and I'll go. Wait, I think I could do this with my.
Right, right.
I'll go. This is God.
Somebody's pacemaker might really need to kick in.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta switch
Oh, man.
that. So it's a win.
Exactly. Yeah. We create the problem that we solve.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Join cybersecurity after hearing all this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we don't have a whole lot of time left. Do you have some wiggle room here, Tina?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to pick your brain a little bit about
Yeah.
about some of the services that you offer at SideApoor.
Mhm.
How much are you guys thinking about maturity when you're talking about remediation or recommendations?
Yeah.
Yes. Could you unpack that a little bit? And what are you seeing out there in the market space as far as people adopting maturity as a framework for
Yeah.
their cyber programs?
Yeah. So, I think when it comes to maturity, a lot of organizations, there was like a whole like kind of study done for, I think, some of the Maryland agencies. And I think maybe it was like only 60% of them had actually done like a risk assessment to even see where they are. So I think even before we can start talking about maturity, it's almost just like awareness, right? Like we
Right.
need to get everybody to the place that they are at least asking the question of
Right.
where are we now,
Mhm.
right? And where do we need to or want to be?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. And so, I think that that's why we really, like on the TCecure side, from a services perspective, really reshaped and repackaged like how we present ourselves to customers as helping them build and maintain effective cyber programs, right? Like, so if you want to look at it from a more holistic perspective, instead of just like a little spot here, throw a dart there sort of thing, like really take a step back and understand like what kind of data do we even have in our environment, right? Like what are like, and what kind of laws govern that data? And have specific rules around it. And then from there, kind of taking, okay, this is like the data, then understanding from there, what kind of security controls do we need to have in place to appropriately protect that data, right, in our systems and in our environment, so it's like a data analysis, then a risk assessment, and then, from there, kind of seeing what the gaps and holes are based upon what they need. And typically, even though the like cybersecurity framework isn't a maturity framework per se, because it has those tiers of risk, that's often what we leverage and use. Whether the specific framework that our customers are necessarily wanting to manage their programs in is cybersecurity framework, it's still an effective means by which to help them understand that, hey, from a risk perspective, you're at this tier level now. But based upon what you're saying about where you want to be, that describes this other tier level. And so then we can, kind of help and talk through with them, like how they move from one tier level of risk posture to another level, a tier level. And so, from a SideApoor perspective, really where that comes in is as another tool, especially for organizations that have high sensitivity around availability. So if you look at cybersecurity as like confidentiality, integrity, availability, a lot of times there's a lot of focus on confidentiality, maybe next integrity. And then, for some organizations, availability is like one of the last things, but uptime, business operations, and the like is really critical because that definitely translates to dollars. And so with SideApoor, you're really focused on, okay, if we want to quickly be able to come to the point where we understand the functional and operational impact of making a change, right? Like that's whether it's a security change or it's some digital transformation change. A lot of organizations don't have a set aside test environment where they can quickly model and like their production environment. And for those that do, a lot of them don't necessarily have automated ways to run through like environment verification tests. Is everything gonna work? All of my applications, my OS, and everything gonna work fine after I make this change? And so when it comes to security changes in particular, there's a clock ticking on those changes, right? Especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, with hackers that might have been mediocre. Now with AI and the ability to quickly develop exploits that can do malicious things, like you have hackers that are able to mobilize when there's a known vulnerability, create exploits in days, and organizations are still taking weeks and months and sometimes years to test out a patch to see if that patch or security update is going to break anything, and then deploy it. And so CyDeploy is really positioning those organizations to be able to go head to head with hackers creating exploits in days to be able to get organizations to the place where they have confidence in deploying their updates, in particular security updates, in a matter of days, because the functional and operational impact of making those changes.
I'm embarrassed to ask this so late in the game. We've been talking for about a half hour now, but
Yeah.
CyDeploy, would you categorize it as a cybersecurity tool? Is it a platform or is it a service?
Yeah, it's a platform. So it's a right now what's in the market is our SaaS, software as a service version. What we're deploying this month is a version that companies can deploy inside their own cloud tenants. So still, software is still a cloud solution, but they can deploy inside their own cloud tenant instead of inside our cloud. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I've been trying to, like, as a tech, like we're going through like all these sales academy things, right? And they're like, don't focus on the technology and the features, Tina. Focus on the benefit to the customer. So at least I'm seeing in myself that because you didn't even know whether it was like cloud and that maybe I'm getting better at focusing on like what it does, the value it delivers, and
yeah.
instead of like breaking down the technology and telling them how the watch works.
Yeah. Well, if you want to brainstorm, that's my world, and
okay.
use me as a resource.
Great. Yes. Yeah.
We were going to see if you wanted to join us on our sales team, because you just did a fantastic job at delivery.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. I'm getting better then. Yeah. Because at first they were like, Tina, back off from the tech. Like you're going in the weeds. Yeah.
Give us the vision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I care because.
Yeah. A friend of mine is working on a book called "Bleep Your Product." The F word, right?
Yeah.
Bleep your products. It's like nobody cares about your product.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I really have to be very intentional to catch myself to make sure I'm not going into like, and this is how the clock works. It's like, can you just tell me the time? I didn't ask you how you make the watch or the clock. I just want to know the time.
Yes. How does this make me money?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Or save me money.
Yeah, save me money, time. Ultimately, like, why should I care? Yeah.
All right, Maggie, last word goes to you.
Well, I'm just curious now that I'm like such an Uber girl fan. What's next? What are you doing next after world domination? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's really just a focus on continuing to build and scale these ventures. Like, there's a lot of national conversation around, like building wealth in the Black community, business, if you think back to, even like, Booker T. Washington and others, right? Like just kind of really focusing on wealth creation. And I do think that entrepreneurship, whether that's, in being like a CEO yourself or it's investing, right? Like having the capital to invest in other companies and taking a piece of ownership that way. I think that is just such like an important thing within our community. Before these for-profit companies, I had started a nonprofit and was really focused on like the economic empowerment, of the Black community globally, right? Like if you are better positioned economically, I just think that you're empowered to make better, and I just think that that's so important. I coined this term called engineering, and it means like taking a structured approach to owning your identity, your destiny, and your ventures. If you're not owning them, somebody else is, right? And so like I just have a really big, emphasis on that. So, I'll probably just continue in the same vein, building, helping others build. I am an attorney. Like when that'll be like my third or fourth career, it'll probably be like following in Crump's footsteps, and civil rights and injustice. Like I just have a big passion around that. I hate seeing inequity and injustice and the like. And so yeah, it'll continue to be a community focus. Whenever I'm doing, that's my why. For business, for law, for whatever, that's my consistent why.
Robert would love that. Robert Heath, he's always talking about the why.
Okay.
Shout out to Robert.
I was going to say, I volunteer you and fully submit you for National Security Council to be yelling, let's get you in there. Okay?
Right.
I'm all about it. I'll be your campaign. Okay?
Right, you're on it. You got me, Maggie. There you go.
I'm kidding. Nah, that's
yeah. Let's put that in the notebook for like, okay, we gotta get to that. Make sure, yep, exactly, so we can cross it off.
It's over here. I'm just like,
yep.
Doing in the middle. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, where do we find you? If people want to find out more about you and your companies, where should we go?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is probably a great central place to find me. So, you can find me LinkedIn, Tina Williams-Koroma. We have a CyDeploy page from there. We have a TCecure page. We have a SciSkills page. Also author of a book that's noted on the website as well. So yeah, I think LinkedIn is probably a good central place to find me and branch off from there.
And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And remember to visit our YouTube channel. This is not just audio. If you're listening to this, video is also available. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I think it's just linkedin.com/Josh Bruning. And if you're into Instagram and stuff, like if you search the internet hard enough, you'll find me on other social media. Yeah.
Yeah, I found you easily, Josh.
Great. Yeah, nobody else, I mean.
That's our audience's first test. Can you find us?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
It has been an honor being on this show with two powerful women. I really appreciate your time today. And everybody, I appreciate you for watching and listening to Security Market Watch. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, man.